Hi, family. This is just a quick video from Dr. Kia Pruitt from the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show to let you all know that debt collectors were put on notice. In fact, the Federal Trade Commission, also known as the FTC, created a list of banned debt collectors, and I have a list of them in alphabetical order. So some people are actually reporting starting today that they received letters saying that their debts have been canceled. Now, we knew that that had been happening behind the scenes with some people, but it is now official that America and Donald Trump has put debt collectors on notice. Follow the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show for more, and I will show you that list. Or if you're my family and close friends, you can call me or send me an email or a text, and I'll send that list to you. So we're about to be free. This is a part of Nasara and Gesara, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, also known as Nasara, and the Global Economic Security Reformation Act, known as Gesara, is the global component of that. These laws or reformations state that Americans have to be free. Americans have to be compensated for the nefarious banking system that the central banking system of the Federal Reserve had enacted against us, forcing us to take out loans with interest rates. Because mind you, we all have a fund. We all have a fund that's also known as a trust. Okay, each of us were supposed to be off to offset our debts using our trust. In case you didn't know it, we all were born with a birth certificate, most of us anyway. If we were born in a hospital, the hospital then securitized those birth certificates, sent it to the government. The birth certificates were securitized, traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and they accrued interest. That was put in a trust. So when you go and get a loan from the banks, whether it be a student loan, a car loan, automobile, of course, automobile loan, any type of bank loan, a business loan, you put your social security number on it, you sign it. Unbeknownst to you and me, signing those so-called promissory notes and loan applications was giving these entities power of attorney to access our trust and pay themselves. So you've been paying mortgage, you've been paying your car loan. They were paying themselves, stealing money from your trust. And then they forced us to pay them with interest. This was declared as unlawful when the farmers actually took the Federal Reserve of the central banking system and the United States government to court. They took them to the highest courts. It was determined that the banks were operating unlawfully. Banks are not constitutionally allowed to make us get loans from them, okay, because they didn't loan you any money, okay, and it's unlawful for them to make us pay them interest. So it was determined that not only had the banks done the farmers wrong by forcing them to take out loans and securing and stealing their land if they didn't agree to certain things like sowing certain seeds, doing certain things like making cattle sick, and anything that the United States federal government and their central banking system wanted to say they had to do in order to get money, they would do. And the Supreme Court, the World Court, said that was nefarious. It was unconstitutional, unlawful. So they were told that when we return to the gold standard, all the farmers will be paid back in gold for what they had dealt with. And it was also determined that not only had the farmers been mistreated, but so had we, the people in America and abroad. And they were told after the farmers are paid first, then everybody would be paid off. That's part of Nasara Gesara. Nasara Gesara also said that each person were to receive what some people are calling a universal basic income. And that just means you will receive tens of thousands of dollars per month in your account called the quantum financial system, or quantum financial account. That money goes to you. It would be $10,000 or more per month. You have to be 21 years of age or older. And it will only, according to our reports, last for 11 years. You'll be paid out for 11 years in a non-interest bearing account. So you have to be good stewards of that money. And that money will be monitored through the quantum financial system, which will have an energy sensor that can read your energy to ensure that nobody else can access your accounts. So as long as you have nefarious reasons for using this, you don't have nefarious reasons, you have benevolent reasons for using this money, and you only use it to take care of your needs or to help humanity through humanitarian philanthropic efforts, that's good. But anything dealing with laundering of people, money, all that kind of stuff, Dre, speaking in code for people who's like, is she speaking pig Latin? Yes, I am, because I'm constantly monitored. But as long as the money is used for benevolent purposes, we're going to be in a good place. So you're going to have an eradication of all loans. And if you look at a Zero Hedge article that recently came out last month, it actually said we will have a debt jubilee in biblical proportions. Are you ready? Because according to the article, this is something that many nations have done throughout centuries. When the debt reached a certain amount and the people couldn't afford to pay their debt, they would just forgive the debt. So this is what we're seeing happening, a debt jubilee. That's a part of Nasara, Gesara, as well as money being given to each person on the planet to offset or to compensate for the nefarious banking practices, and you will see an eradication of the IRS. And that's why President Trump says he's going to create an external revenue service and put taxes and tariffs on companies and do away with the internal revenue services. Okay, so many things are happening, family. Please stay encouraged. You want to make sure that you stay abreast of all this information. Watch for your mail because you're going to get information that says that your debt has been done away with, family. Other components of Nasara and Gesara is that the government is going to be downsized, and the precursor to that was actually it being official was the Supreme Court of the United States overturning the Chevron doctrine. The Chevron doctrine enabled all these fake government agencies like the FBI, CIA, EPA, HOA, Department of Motor Vehicles. All these places are not government, okay? They are companies that incorporated themselves. They have a Dun and Bradstreet number. They're incorporated. They're not a part of our republic. They are not government. So the Supreme Court of the United States said, you know what? You guys have incorporated yourselves. You created all these rules, statutes, codes, and policies and made people abide by them. And what you have done is enslaved the people. Okay, the people on the land are sovereign, whether they're in America or abroad. They are not supposed to be penalized and enslaved. And you put fines and penalties on them if they didn't agree with your unconstitutional rules, like the HOA saying you can't grow your own vegetables in your yard. That's unconstitutional. Supreme Court of the United States said you all are unconstitutional and you've committed treason. And they said any judge that knew of that happening, and whenever you try to challenge these companies, even CPS, if your kids were taken, stolen from you by these companies that are not part of the government, and you appealed it or you tried to fight them back, the judges would tell you that you had to agree, and they would defer back to these agencies like CPS, EPA, FBI, CIA. I have a list of 441 of them. If you want them, I'll send it to you. But any judge that knew of that and deferred back to these people said, yep, you got to pay the fines, penalties, or whatever. Then the Supreme Court of the United States said they committed treason. And any judge that knew of a judge that allowed it, they considered or committed misprision of treason. So you have lots of people that will have to stand down. Judges and lawyers, they will have to stand down. They will have to cease and desist because judges and lawyers have to pass a bar exam. That's the British Accredited Registry, which means that they work for the British Crown, the Queen, and not for we the people. They will have to cease and desist. They will have to stand down. Interestingly enough, Pope Francis talked about this in 2014 when he wrote some letter called Motu Proprio to Obama saying our time is up. I've reported on that at length on my Rumble and YouTube channel as well. So look me up on Rumble and YouTube, rumble.com, youtube.com. Look up Dr. Kia Pruitt, and you will see how I talked about the Pope actually letting us know that their time was up. The deep state, United States Incorporated, the Roman Catholics, not the Roman Catholics, but the Roman Empire, which the United States Incorporated was a part of. It's over for all of them. All of this is part of Nasara and Gesara. These are laws that were brought about because the farmers took the United States Incorporated and the Federal Reserve Central Banking System to court. So family, stay encouraged. Keep your vibrations high. The IRS will be done away with. The government will be downsized. The Supreme Court of the United States ruled in favor of us and overturned all of these different government agencies. The Federal Reserve is done away with. It is defunct, bankrupt, and insolvent, as well as the central banking system. And the Supreme Court of the United States made a decision this summer that said state-sponsored banks can operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system. They can create their own rules They can have their own charter and issue out their own gold backed currencies. This might be why more than 46 states here in America reclaim silver and gold as money. And the way they did it is by repealing or removing some or all state sales taxes from precious metals, and said states can no longer view silver and gold as a commodity or as a collectible, but they have to view silver and gold as money. Also, banks had to become Basel III compliant by they had to do this actually by January of last year. Some people said that was extended into this year, 2025. What is Basel III compliances? It means that banks have to be transparent. It means they can no longer steal your money. They can't do bank bail-ins and take your money and bail themselves out. They can't take your money and invest in other obstacles and other investment opportunities. And banks have to recognize gold as a tier one asset. They have to recognize gold as money. And banks had to prepare for currency exchanges and receive currency exchanges, also known as foreign reserves. I also did a report that said last year banks met globally to make sure that they were ready for receive tier two assets, meaning if you have invested in foreign currencies, banks are already compliant and ready for your foreign currency exchange. So many wonderful things that's happening. We won't even talk about all the tariffs Trump is putting on exporting countries, how it exposed how United States aid or US aid was going to other countries to create far left programs like transformation, sex change surgeries, forcing people and funding them to become gender trade trans, and gender trades. You know what I'm saying? That's pig Latin. I mean, they were funneling money to all type of Sesame Street programs that wasn't even about educating the people, programs to inspire and encourage and indoctrinate to people to do same-sex things, rituals. Okay, this all type of nefarious things that Trump has just exposed, and he said that U.S. aid workers were to come home. And he put all of that on a screeching halt. He also exposed that your tax dollars were not only going to do that, but your tax dollars were also paying to fund mainstream media, MSM, liberal left media that was talking against the Republic and against we the people. Stay encouraged, family. There's so much to talk about. Join me on the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show on YouTube and Rumble. Go to youtube.com or rumble.com. Follow me. Type in Dr. Kia Pruitt.